Hey guys, what is up? I hope everybody is having a great Thanksgiving and is annihilating food like I'm about to go do after this video. I'm happy to be bringing you guys a commentary analysis of my performance in day 2 of the PLDA World Long Drive Championship. If you guys enjoyed this long drive content and want more, please do me a favor and drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel because it really does go a long way to growing this community and helping me reach and entertain as many people as possible. And it helps to support a long drive, which is huge for us. And while I'm on that topic, if you really want to help the sport as well, also subscribe to the PLDA, which is the organization that put on this tournament. I'll drop a link to their YouTube channel below. We'll be coming out the schedule pretty soon, and I'm pretty excited to see what's going to be happening next year. So with that being said, let's get into it. And the first thing I'm sure you guys are noting very immediately is the numbers on the top right of the screen. So this was less than 15 hours, 16 hours after I went 450 and the first day. And I think this is a really good thing to show you guys because it shows you what conditions do. I hit a couple really good shots. That 324 is a humongous ball, and I believe I have a 322 and a 323. I can tell you guys, I was sitting at about 221, 222 ball speed. Those are really good shots. And, Colton's 316 is actually really good as well. And it just goes to show what conditions do. We are hitting into about 25 mile an hour headwinds, and like true 25 mile an hour headwinds. And it was absolutely unbelievable to kind of see the headwinds we were dealing with. And it was a lot of panic, honestly, and even myself, because we went from, I had I think I was either in the second to last set or the last set of the first day, and it was 20 mile an hour tailwind straight down and launching it as high as we could, and you had to hit it 430, 440 to win sets, and you guys can see the wind. It's just, when we arrived, it was the first session of the day, and shout out to Bobby Bradley and Glenn Wilson Jr., two of the guys that were commentating, but it was just this unbelievable wind. It was 55, 58 degrees, and about 20, 25 mile an hour wind. And when I got to the range, my first thought was, wow, like this is going to be unbelievable. You just kind of got to hit shots and just slow it down. And that's really what I tried to do, is just slow it down as much as I could. I knew 320 plus would be the number. And, stick around because I know there's not going to be big numbers here, but it really gives me an opportunity to go into in depth how to hit drives very long when conditions aren't good. The first thing you need to do is mitigate spin, minimize spin. I think I went from spinning at about 2,800 yesterday, which was perfect, day 1, to now spinning at probably about 1,600. I went from launching it about 20 degrees the day before to probably launching it at about 10, maybe 11 degrees. So I'm sure you guys can tell that's a significant difference in the ball flight and all that. And what you'll notice is the distances are going to get a lot more compressed because you're not going to be hitting it as far. So it's going to be hard to really get a lot of separation. So to my left, Zach Adams. To my right, Jason Imbler, Patrick Raber, all veterans of the sport. And here I think I know I have a ball in play. I'm just kind of waiting for a callback. And yeah, it was just one of those days where you really just had to, kind of just get through, if we're being honest. So that's kind of been my mentality for this. Just get a couple of the early sets done, get them knocked out, clean them up, and get myself into a safe position early. And I do apologize. I should have probably explained this earlier. I did explain it in the first video, but the way this works, it's 5 sets, and you're separating groups of 16. The first day, 13 of the 16 got through. This day, the second day, only 8 of the 16 will get through in each group. So I think we have 64 hitters left. So now it's serious. Like half the guys are getting chopped today and the next day. So, there's no messing around. You can see 327 and I believe a 324. So I know those are about pretty much perfect shots. The ball flight's really good. It's flat. And I'll finish explaining the kind of format, but you get 6 balls, longest in the grid gets 200 points, second longest gets 100, third gets 50, fourth gets 25. If you miss the grid, you get 0. And over 5 sets, the top 8 point getters out of the group of 16 will move on to the round of 32, and the bottom 8 are eliminated. So that's the format. And I got to be honest, these first 2 sets were probably some of my best sets of the tournament, because to hit it 325 plus today, on this day, you pretty much need a perfect drive. And when you hit it in a tailwind, there's a lot of combinations that will go far. And even if you don't hit the perfect drive, you're not really going to get punished that much. And what I mean by that is, if you're not spinning it enough, or if you're spinning it too much, the wind's still going to help you out a lot. But when you're hitting into a headwind, if your spin is too low, that headwind's going to beat the ball down. If your spin's too high, the headwind's going to balloon the ball up. You need to have an absolutely perfect spin rate and perfect launch angle to have, a good landing angle that still has some run on it. And I believe the grid callers were telling me I was getting about 5 to 6 yards of run today, which was fantastic. Like, literally about as good as you could possibly do with this wind, which means that I had the perfect flight pretty much from the get-go. And a good tip, if you're a long driver watching this and you run into this situation where, you guys can see the wind behind us, it's really uncomfortable to hit into a stiff headwind, because it throws off a lot of what your game plans are for hitting the ball far. You don't show up to a long drive tournament to hit it 320. You show up to hit it 420 plus. But my best advice is to not panic, to understand that everybody is freaking out a little bit mentally, and just go out and hit shots. That's kind of how you have to do it. And to the recreational golfer who's hitting into a headwind, you just got to, same thing, just make your swing kind of, just stay within yourself, be consistent, be solid, and, that's kind of how I would approach it. So now into the third set, you got Mike Earhart, Brandon Saunders, myself, and Kenichi Joe. And again, I have 400 points, and typically, mathematically, when they take 8 out of 16, you're looking at probably 475 is the mathematical average for getting through. 525 will typically ensure mathematically. I believe it's 537.5 is the mathematical guarantee of you being in, but I've never seen it ever go over 500, except for myself. I once had a situation in 2018 where I got knocked out of my group with 525, but that was a situation back in that day. If 2 guys went OB, they would split points and get points for going OB, which made no sense, which is why they eliminated it, which is why that happened. But now in this day and age where 0 point sets from getting OB are reality, I know anything over about 475, 500 is good. So at this point, I've hit 300. Not my best drive, but I also know that the wind was particularly bad in this set, really bad. It got a little better the last 3 balls in this set, but I know I'm at 400, and a second place gets me through. And so I know more than likely I've already made it through, and at this point I'm just trying to, keep dialing things in, figure a few more things out, because I'll be honest, it was definitely not a very comforting thing to get there that morning and be in the conditions we were in, because you just never know how it's going to affect your ball until you actually go out there. And when you're the defending champion and you got a target on your back, it's a marathon. The reality is you cannot win this tournament on the first 3 days, and this is day 2, but you can sure lose it quickly. 2 bad sets, 3 bad sets, and you're out. It's that simple. So ball at 318 here, pretty solid ball. I'd say it was a B plus golf ball. The 325s were definitely A plus. I would say my limit at this point was probably 330, 332 maybe would be a perfect shot. And but I know just going to keep plugging along and just hitting good shots, and just kind of wrapping this setup. And I think the wind really never let up the entirety of our group. You can see it's still whipping pretty good in the background. So looks like I finished up with another 19-yard win. So 21-yard win. And so I'm at 600 points now, and I'm effectively into the round of 32. But I really do want to keep, at this point, I've won all 8 of my sets in the tournament, and I kind of made a bit of a mental error. I definitely would characterize it as an error, and it's kind of my own perfectionism. So I was really, at this point, I realized I'm almost halfway through I'm almost getting close to halfway through this tournament, I haven't lost a set. And one thing I've always wanted to do in my career that I have not done yet is have a perfect world championship. So I've had 2 perfect tournaments in my career, and what I characterize that as is going an entire tournament without losing a single set. So sweeping everything. The first time I did that was Rochester at 2019 Rock City Rumble, back when it was on the Golf Channel, and that was when I became number 1. And I also did it earlier this year. I believe it was the 5th event of the season, the North Carolina Long Drive Championship, I believe is what we called it. And I swept everything there and ended up winning. I was 2 tournaments before this, and I came extremely close to the tournament before this. I finished 3rd. I won every single set, and then they did 4 for 2s, and basically what that means is there's 4 guys on tee at the same time, top 2 move on. I won every single set, made it to the semifinals. The final 4 guys hit 3 perfect drives, and then the wind died, and Scotty Pierman and Ryan Steenberg both screamed at their last ball, and I lost by 1 yard and 3 yards to them, and I was knocked out. So that was a tough pill to swallow. But so that's kind of on my mind a little bit. I kind of want to just keep this rolling, and I feel like I kind of threw myself out of my rhythm a little bit by doing this. I started feeling a little more pressure, and I had such a hard time seeing this golf ball. If you guys can look on the right-hand corner of my screen, it's a blue golf ball, and it was impossible to see this ball. And that really makes it a problem because you can't adjust. Now, I was getting the grid caller, was able to see it, and he was even trying to strain to see it. And so I missed the first one right. And it was just a series of, I kept making good swings, and I really think I just got a little out of sync in my mind and started focusing on things I shouldn't have been focusing on. So this one went a bit left, and again, making good contact. I mean, I'm not super freaked out about much. I'm just kind of hitting shots, and it was one of those things where I think I kind of, as I said, just got a little out of sorts, and so I'm trying to regroup and collect myself a little bit. And the big thing is, I'm just trying to stop thinking about, and this one was a great shot, just a little bit right. And it was one of those things where, I just kept hitting it a few yards right of target and a few yards left of target. I actually looked at my TrackMan to see the shot spread, and there were 3 balls to the right of the grid and 3 balls to the left of the grid, and not a single one of them was more than about 10 yards out of bounds. And I went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth on this set, hitting balls right and then left. And, it was one of those things where I think it's a good lesson in the sport of long drive, but also in golf in general, in any sport. You really shouldn't start worrying about future performance or past performance. You need to stay in the moment, in what you're doing, and focused, and just hit good shots. And I believe the wind had died a little bit. You can see this one, I like my start line. We got a little shot tracker there, and you can see how the ball is just kind of working a little too much. And this one went into the corner and rolled out by a few yards. I'm loving my start line, and I've had a really solid start line every shot here. Just not quite squaring it up. And obviously, as I said, I was a little out of sync, but sometimes you're just going to have bad sets, if we're being honest. And then when OB here, the one saving grace was I was already mathematically in, so it wasn't too big of a deal in terms of my actual progression in continuing to advance. But I really was pretty annoyed because, to this point, going back to the last 2 tournaments, I won 11 out of my 12 sets in Connecticut, and then all 9 of my sets in my win the tournament before. So I believe I was something like 21 for 22, and then won my first 8 sets here. And so I'd won 29 of my last 30 sets, and I was kind of annoyed to go OB, but honestly at my speed and a lot of these guys' speeds, it's a mathematical reality that at some point you're going to go OB. And so when it's been like 28, 30 sets without an OB, it can definitely happen pretty quickly. And you can see, I'm actually just kind of waving the Bobby Bradley and the guys in the booth. Again, I'm just trying to stay calm, stay relaxed. I know I just had an OB set, and as I said, the one nice thing about it was that, I knew that I was already in. But now we're into our final set. Got Ryan Riesbeck in the first slot, Hyung-Joon Hong in the second slot, Zach Holton in the third slot, and myself in the fourth slot. And I'm sorry if there's a little bit of dead time here and there. I just kind of got the raw footage, and I want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to the staff at the PLDA. I mean, it was absolutely horrible that second day because of that wind. It was so bad we had to take the TV down that was showing the scores. But here we're just kind of biding our time, waiting a little bit. I think they're about to give us the go-ahead. Something interesting, you can see Ryan Riesbeck in the far corner there. He's probably the only guy I know that literally starts. You'll see him right here. He actually starts his set literally setting up to the ball. So his first ball is off literally within about 7 to 8 seconds every time, which is honestly a pretty nice move because it gives you more time, if you think about it, to be patient with your next few balls. So another shot here, good drive, just drew a little bit left. So I'm just trying to correct again, and that's just the reality of the long drive is, the faster you are, the easier it is to have OB sets. And when you're into a headwind, it can definitely get a lot more difficult. And that's a really good ball from Hyun-Joon Hong at 324. But again, the wind has let up a little bit. The ball's probably going about 10 to 15 yards further now. And towards the end of the day, once again, this is the 8 a.m. slot. Probably at this point, it's like 9:30. I believe there were a few balls getting into the 360, 370 range once you got to the afternoon rounds, and the wind was only about 5 to 10 in, and it got a lot warmer. This one, again, I missed the second one right, and then I missed the third one left. And so it just goes to show, when you get out of sync, in long drive, it can be extremely difficult to get back into a rhythm, and that's kind of what I was just trying to do, is just get a ball in play and then get the confidence built back up. I honestly felt a lot better in this set than I did in the fourth set, and this one went left, and I mean, I'm sure what you guys noticed, I'm not rushing, I'm not really panicking, I'm not like losing my mind or anything like that. I'm maintaining a very consistent pace of hitting balls, and I feel very comfortable and confident. But this just happens sometimes. This is part of the sport, and that's why it's so hard to be a great long driver and win a lot, because OB sets can happen at any time, and they can happen for pretty much any reason. Sometimes you're just not quite slotting the club properly. Sometimes you're not reading the wind properly. Sometimes your alignment's off, and when you have 2.5 minutes to figure it out, it's very hard. And the other thing, as I said earlier, and I know this sounds like an excuse, but it's true. I should have adjusted better and should have maybe tried to feel better where the ball's going, but you can't see these blue golf balls in the air at all. So that's another thing. When you can't see them, it gets a lot tougher. And this one kind of came across it pretty bad, and I honestly thought this one was going to be in, but looks like it kind of wiped a little too much to the right. But that is what it is. But we'll be moving on to the next day tomorrow. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.